Hi, my name is Adrienne Massenberg. I want to help you learn how to draw. Okay, I know some of you are already thinking, how do I learn how to draw? It's a lot, it's complicated. I see people who are way better than me doing amazing things, and stop right there. It doesn't have to be a scary thing, okay? Drawing is a lot of fun. It takes a lot of practice and time, but you can get better. Now, if you're someone who's in the very beginning, who's never drawn a person, an animal, a creature, a character, a flower, whatever, if you're like the very beginning, I believe I can help you. Now, if you're someone who's more intermediate, I hope you can find some useful tips as well. But I want to talk to the artist who hasn't really gotten there yet, who hasn't really started, who's been afraid to start, who is trying to find their way. I believe I have some helpful tips to help you out. So let's jump right into it. All right. So, first and foremost, what you want to do is relax. Okay. Drawing should be fun. Don't think too much about it. Don't overthink it, is really what I'm trying to say. Don't overthink it. The first thing I believe you really want to start with is trying to figure out what kind of artist you want to be, because that's going to lay the groundwork of what the next steps are. Are you an artist who wants to be in concept art? And if you don't know what that is, Google it. And I can show you if you want me to just explain that to you and show you examples. Let me know in the comments, and I will give you a full rundown of the difference between concept artists and illustrators and so on. But first things first is, what kind of art are you drawn to? Like, are you into children's illustrations? Are you into animation? Are you into creating, again, concept art, character designs, background designs for video games? Are you an illustrator? Like, do you like storytelling through an image, a singular image? I believe once you kind of discover what it is you're drawn to, that'll help with some of the next steps to kind of lay the pathway of what things you can do to get to that goal you're trying to get to. And just for an example, so it took me a while to realize that I'm more of an illustrator. I'm not really a concept artist. I can create concepts for a project that I'm working on, but to do that every single day with the sole intent to generate various ideas, that's not really my thing. I am an illustrator. I like storytelling through a singular image. I also like designing stylized creatures. So I like to classify myself as an illustrator versus a concept artist. But knowing what that is important. And again, knowing what you're drawn to is important. And ways you can figure that out, get on sites like Pinterest. Like, get on Pinterest, start creating boards of what it is you're drawn to. Like, what excites you? What makes you excited when you see this piece of art? You're like, oh man, this is amazing. I want to do something like that. Because if you start there, it'll kind of help you to understand what's your best starting point. Because again, I could go over, and I will go over starting points of where you could get started, but in the end, it'll help you to better understand what your end goal is, of where you hope to be someday. Again, maybe it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years. The time doesn't matter if you're having fun. So, number one, if you say, okay, if you get on Pinterest or you're watching your favorite anime show or animation and you're like, oh, this is what I love, I want to do this. That's step one, in my opinion. I think, again, finding what you're drawn to, what you're excited about. Because maybe, for example, if you're drawn to background designs, maybe you should start with perspective first versus human anatomy or animal anatomy. Maybe that's where you should start. But if you're like, no, I like drawing characters and creatures and animals, and well, maybe then you would start with anatomy first. But it's like, what are you drawn to first? What do you excited about first. But again, after you kind of get an idea of what you're drawn to, then the work really begins of, okay, step one being learning the fundamentals, learning the basics, learning the boring stuff. Honestly, it's the boring stuff helps you grow. Let's just face it. The boring stuff helps you grow. And the boring stuff being drawing forms, drawing shapes, understanding the difference between a shape and a form, beginning with perspective, understanding vanishing points and how things recede into the distance, starting with anatomy, like understanding what the human form looks like, with how is the arm structure, what are the muscles. And again, you don't gotta get too caught up in the muscle names and all that, but understanding what's there. And again, I have some great books that I love. And again, if you want to see those books or post those books, just drop a link in the comment in the comment, below, in the comments below. Put a comment below if you want a list of my favorite books, right? So again, step one, in my opinion, let's review real quick. Step one, in my opinion, figure out what you're drawn to, what excites you, what makes you happy when you look at it. Favorite show, favorite animation, favorite artist, all that. Then, because then you have a goal in front of you, right? Once you have your goal in front of you, then you start with the basics. Understanding what shape and form is, understanding perspective, understanding human anatomy, animal anatomy, and taking your time. These are not topics that you spend a week on and you're done, and that's why, in my opinion, I believe you have to figure out, are you a background artist or do you like characters and creatures and things of that nature? Because that's what you should spend the most time on first, I think, and again, just kind of go from there. And I'll show you some of this stuff towards the end of the video. I will go over what shape and form is. I'll go over some quick tips about perspective. That's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother conversation. But I just want to present to you, for those of you who are just in the beginning levels, figure out what you're drawn to. I feel like that's the biggest takeaway from this introductory video, is figure out what you're drawn to. That's your first assignment, is figure out what you like, what excites you, what kind of art do you gravitate towards, what pages are you following on TikTok, what pages are you following on Instagram that are art related, what gets you excited about art. And then from there, I would even put a little step in between the basics and finding out what you're drawn to. I would say start to mimic those artists. Find that piece of art that gets you excited and then copy that art. And I know some people think copy is a bad word, but just don't, present it as your own work. It's okay to copy, to study, and to understand, and to get comfortable drawing a subject matter or a topic or a character, just to understand what that artist was thinking as they drew. And plus too, just to get you in the habit of drawing, right? But just don't post that work on social media and posing it as your own. That's when it becomes a no-no. Okay. But it is okay to copy other artists. Tons of people do it to learn, to study. The masters did it. So who are we not to do it as well? Again, as long as we're not presenting it as our own work, it is okay, right? So let's summarize this real quick. All right. Well, I would say, before we even jump into, because I will make separate videos about anatomy and perspective and all those other things. So let's just say, for now, your first assignment, your first thing on your to-do list is figure out, again, what you are drawn to. Get on Google, get on Pinterest, look on Instagram, TikTok. There's tons of artists drawing and doing tutorials on TikTok. again, what are you drawn to? What inspires you? The best part, I do recommend Pinterest though, because that way you can kind of curate what you like by and putting them in these boards. So you can have a list of your favorite, creature designers, your favorite, character art. Like, so Pinterest to me is kind of the go-to really. And you can save things from Google in Pinterest. If you want me to show you how to do that, I can do that as well. But again, assignment number 1, and plus, again, put it in the comments. Like, what kind of artist are you? What kind of art do you hope to create? Again, children's books, animation, character design, creature design, background designs. Again, put in the comments, let me know. And then again, once you kind of discover that, draw a couple images in your sketchbook, and again, I'll post a separate video about this as well, but you do not need to start with anything fancy. Start with a pen and paper, pencil and paper. If you have an iPad, cool, start there. But you don't need anything fancy to start. All you need is a piece of paper, computer paper, and a drawing utensil, or drawing instrument. Pen, ink, charcoal, crayon, it doesn't matter. It could be a napkin it really doesn't matter what you start with, because anything beyond the actual skill of drawing is just a tool. You can always learn to draw digital later. You can always learn a certain software, all that later. But right now, this is the basics. This is the starting point. So if you want to learn how to draw, follow me, come along on this journey, and your first assignment is figure out what you're drawn to. After that, fill one page of a piece of paper of the art that you've gathered, copy it. Again, don't post it as your own, but copy it. Begin to the best of your, and do not be critical of yourself. Have fun, because it's not about being perfect right now. It's not about being right now. It's just the habit. Develop the habit of putting your ideas on the page. Let's just start there, right? All right, well, come along with my next video and I will dig a little deeper, and let's just have some fun. All right, see you next time.